So what's the 411 on these types of vehicles? Oversimplified, ICE stands for internal combustion engine, your typical gas-fueled engine. It's also a usual component in hybrid vehicles. BEVs, on the other hand, utilize only their onboard battery for power. This is a 100% electric vehicle. We'll weigh in on the benefits and challenges facing all types of vehicle power configurations. In this segment, I'd like to talk a little bit about the evolution of battery electric vehicles and the manufacturers are going to them. For years, we've had gas engine. You go to the gas station, you put your gas in, and you're on the way. And of course, there's hybrids, which is a combination of both. So I'd like to talk a little bit about the different technologies. So Joel, what is your thoughts on battery electric vehicles and hybrids?
Well, first and foremost, we've been traditionally accustomed to the gas engine, the IC, the internal combustion engine, and that's what most dealers had for a long time. But with the rising gas prices that we have now, and people doing less commuting back and forth, the electric vehicle has been a big push. Most manufacturers today have at least one to market right now. I would say 90%, and those other 10% are bringing them to market in the next year or so. So this is going to be the future of our auto industry, and for some great reasons.
So Erica, I know that Joel just mentioned that most manufacturers have one or two vehicles, but talk to me about some of the manufacturers that are kind of, for all due lack of better words, going all in on electric vehicles.
Yeah, I mean, as we know, Tesla is kind of the trailblazer for this, right? I mean, they've been around for several years and they're, all electric. But the manufacturers that have been producing nothing but gas engines, there's a handful that are making a real big promise and stepping up in a really big way to make sure that they're, being competitive with that. One of them being Volvo. I believe Audi is another one that's really making a stance saying, hey, I mean, Chevy, they're making a big stance saying we're going to be committed to producing battery electric vehicles on an exponentially larger level than they ever have, and some of the manufacturers are committing to be 100% electric in the next 10 years. So that's pretty substantial. That's a statement in my opinion.
Hear, hear. And I think today's ranges are somewhere between 300 and 500, but there's a lot of manufacturers and independent companies that are working on that technology to get it up to 700 or even 800. But Joel, today if someone buys one, there's a real thing called range anxiety. And what happens, where do they charge it at their house, and how much does it cost? And just talk a little bit about range anxiety and charging.
Yeah, it's a real thing, Kevin. Range anxiety, FOMO, okay, I'm missing out on this party, I can't get to this place. It's a real thing. But the manufacturers have noticed that, and they've responded. Not only are they, some manufacturers helping with putting in a charging station at home. So when you buy an electric vehicle, they'll send you to a nice electrician, and you can get one of these installed for $500 to $2,000, and that's a one-time investment. Or some are actually paying for it themselves. And these things will charge overnight for you. So when you wake up in the morning to get to work or wherever you're going, you've got a fully charged 300, 400, 500-mile range. Not only is that investment, the country is also making investments into the infrastructure as a whole. Michigan, Utah, Florida, Indiana. They're testing technology right now, so when you're driving on the highway, that will actually charge your vehicle. Wow. And this is coming to a theater near us. In Detroit, there's going to be a mile-long strip by 2023 that will charge your electric vehicle as you drive on it.
That's just unbelievable. So Joel talked a little bit, Erica, about when you're traveling and charging, and that's kind of cool that they're starting with 1 mile. But let's say I'm taking a long road trip in my battery electric vehicle. How do I know where to go? Is there applications, or does the car tell you?
Yeah, so the manufacturers have done a really nice job partnering with a couple of companies to offer applications to be able to find the charging stations. And some of the companies are also actually partnering with larger companies that are, vastly. Starbucks is one of them, right? Volvo's made a commitment to partner with Starbucks to have charging stations at all of their Starbucks. So you can go in there, get a cup of coffee, read some emails, do a little bit of work, and then get back on the road pretty quickly.
And so let's talk about that for a little bit. If I charge it overnight, that's great, but if I'm on a road trip, how long when I go to one of these places, whether it's Starbucks or hopefully right off the highway if I'm trying to get somewhere, how long does it take to really charge my vehicle to get me back on the road? Well,
it depends on which charger, what kind of capacity that particular charger has. So there are some chargers out there, and typically that's what you're going to see when you are traveling, where you can charge in anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes, and you're back on the road, and you got about 80% battery left, and you can go, another, few hundred miles on that.
And on that note, there's a lot of things for the consumer to help with this charging. In the older days, you bring out your map when you're traveling, and you pinpoint, and you take the highway and this. Now we're using Google, and now most of the people are using Waze. There are apps out there. So Charge America and ChargePoint, you can map out your trip based on where the charging stations are, and it'll tell you whether it's a fast charger or a normal charger. So if you need a extended time, you take that when you get there.
That's excellent. And so on an electric vehicle, I'm not going to obviously have to change the oil, which means I'm not going to be going to the dealership as much. Erica, what do you really have to do to a battery electric vehicle if I was to buy one from a maintenance standpoint?
Sure. No, you're 100% correct. You know, the whole premise behind this, right, is sustainability and making sure that people can stay on the road. But they're still going to require maintenance. Tires, right? I mean,
Sure.
They're seasonal, and that's seasonal for a reason. So that we need to make sure that they're still changing their tires, they're rotating them, making sure rims, everything else from a mechanical standpoint on the vehicle is operating correctly. But then they're also going to need to make sure that the battery is inspected to make sure that it's, you know, operating it to its maximum potential.
So less money, that's a great advantage. A little more upfront when you buy these vehicles, because they are today a little bit more than your gas engines, but there are benefits when you look at the reduced maintenance. So let's talk about some terminology. So if you're reading an article or you hear something on television and they're referring to ICE vehicles, what's an ICE vehicle?
It's an internal combustion engine, our traditional gas engines that we see every day.
So when you hear ICE, that's what that means. So Joel, what does BEV mean?
Battery electric vehicle. And there's also one vehicle that's in the middle, a hybrid, a PEV.
I feel like this is your favorite.
Yeah, PEV. Just say it out loud a few times. But the plug-in hybrid electric vehicle, which combines both the internal combustion engine and the battery electric.
So there are manufacturers that are going 100%, not everybody, but down the road, I think as these batteries continue to improve, I definitely think there's a battery electric vehicle in the future for almost everyone.